Kamala momentum and a refusal to acknowledge what Israel is doing to Gaza when stories like this come out. Airstrike at Gaza mosque kills at least 80, Palestinian officials say.
Airstrike at a mosque in Gaza. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry says the attack during dawn prayers killed at least 80 people, with some reports putting that number over 100. The Israeli military says Hamas fighters were operating a command center within the compound.
Oh shit, no, never mind. That's so crazy and so different than what they always say. Damn, dude. Damn, that's crazy.
Good morning. And with that reported death toll of more than 100 people, that makes this Israeli strike one of the worst mass casualty events in Gaza since October 7th. And Gaza's emergency services said that Israel's military dropped 3 2,000-pound bombs on the Al-Tabin school and mosque complex in eastern Gaza City, while displaced people who had fled there for shelter were holding early morning prayers. Now, the IDF has acknowledged this strike, said the compound was also being used as a militant command center, and that it killed about 20 Hamas and Islamic Jihad militants, including senior commanders. But Israel is now strongly disputing Hamas's estimate of the total number of dead and said it used precise, small-sized munitions in this strike to try to minimize harm to civilians. Hamas,
oh, they're saying dozens. They're disputing the number. And the media's just going along with like, oh no, it is dozens.
Denies it ever uses civilian buildings like schools and hospitals. But these latest images speak to the continued loss and despair in Gaza, with a total number of dead nearing 40,000 people since October 7th. And that is according to Gaza's health ministry run by Hamas. And this latest strike comes just after Israel agreed to restart ceasefire talks with Hamas to be held on August 15th in conjunction with the U.S. and the mediator countries of Qatar and Egypt. Hamas, though, has not yet said if it will attend. Jeff.
Rami, thank you.
And that is Gaza's civil defense agency saying that about 100 people have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school on Gaza City. Well, we can go straight over to our correspondent Jenny Hill, who's in Tel Aviv. Jenny, good to have you with us. Just bring us up to date with the latest.
Yeah, this is being described as a horrific massacre by Gaza's defense agency, civil defense agency, which is run by Hamas. They say that
they just don't. Gaza civil defense, around 100 killed in Israeli strike. Western media goes with dozens, but it could mean dozens is technically not wrong. It could mean 10 dozens. You know what I mean? It can be 9 dozens, still dozens, 8 dozens.
3 Israeli rockets struck the school in the Daraj district.
This doesn't make sense. Dozens reported killed in Israeli airstrike. Gaza civil defense, around 100 killed in Israeli airstrike. Western media fucking at it again, dude. Great stuff. Great stuff, guys. Doing a great job.
District of Gaza City. This morning, they say that the school was being used as a shelter for displaced people, and there are suggestions that those people may have been at morning prayer when the attack happened. It is then reported that a fire broke out following the strike, with emergency workers scrambling to rescue people from inside the building. Now, the Israeli military has confirmed the strike, but they say that the school was housing a Hamas command center. It's the second strike on a Gazan school in as many days, and in fact, Israel has repeatedly struck schools in Gaza in the last week or two. Each time the military insist that they are in effect pursuing legitimate targets, that the schools are housing Hamas bases. They also insist that through the use of precision missiles and intelligence, they are doing their best to mitigate the loss of civilian life.
Our correspondent there, Jenny Hill in Tel Aviv. Jenny, thanks for bringing us the latest. And I am joined in the studio now by Mohammed Taha from BBC Arabic, who's also been following the very latest. Mohammed, we've seen some really devastating scenes this morning, many too graphic, too horrific for us to be able to broadcast fully, but just tell us more about what you've been seeing there.
And apparently the velocity of these smart missiles that Israel used is causing the bodies to be cut and the bodies to be unidentified. Actually, we saw different shelling in Gaza. So we saw this shelling with heavy bombs that are destroying the whole buildings completely. And we saw these smart bombs that are targeting very, very precise targets. So the difference between having a massive attack on a place that could target the 5,000 people who were sheltered in this school, that would have left us with hundreds of people dead, but targeting the prayer.
Does Biden risk being impeached with a weapons embargo? No. What the fuck? No.
Area precisely in the school.
IDF spokesperson, according to various intelligence indications, there's a high probability that the commander of the Central Camp Brigade of the PIJ terrorist organization, Ashraf Judah, was at the military headquarters in Al-Taba school that was attacked. Laha, their signers say, no, guys, this was an important super terrorist. Don't worry. Yeah. It's just, it always is. It always is. It's just like, no, you don't understand. We had to kill like 90 fucking women and children. I promise there is a dude there that was worth it. Then why the heck is every candidate sucking up to Israel and not vocalizing pro-ceasefire sentiments, which according to you is the best option and will only favor a win, makes you think? I mean, it's pretty obvious. Democrats have shed some of their worst instincts of running scared, but they still have obviously genuine fears of going against American foreign policy. American foreign policy has always been bipartisan. Okay, always. That's not a thing. That's not like, that's completely beyond the pale. Is, you know, is unreasonable. There are levels to it. Obviously, one level of one level of bravery is like being able to make bold decisions, like how you're going to run on progressive platforms. But there are other areas where they're still very scared and cowardly, like the border. Like they're still running, they're still tacking to the center, tacking to the right, actually, on the border, because they're still very much Democrats. They're still afraid. On issues that pertain to foreign policy, they're even more afraid. They're afraid to make a progressive jump. Republicans, on the other hand, could just lie about it all day, every day. They can lie about being peaceful doves. But the Democratic Party has always caved and capitulated to right-wing framing on issues, especially as it pertains to America's foreign policy. They've never turned around and you know. She's saying path to citizenship is going to be in her policy platform, and right-wingers are losing their minds over. So that's one good thing. That's good. They should do that.
Left the school building in large intact, but the building that has been
my relatives in Israel say everyone there fucking hates Biden. I don't know why they're even trying to capitulate to these people. Yeah, that's the funniest part. That like Donald Trump is still significantly more popular in Israel than Joe Biden is.
Affected is the prayer area that and left more than 100 people died. There were we understand that there were around 300 worshippers praying at that time when this high velocity bomb, 3 rockets, as we understand, strike that prayer area and caused this amount of deaths. But unfortunately, the horrific scenes that we saw and that we cannot present it to viewers is because this high velocity of missiles.
Mohammed, as we know, Israeli authorities say that they were targeting a Hamas command center within that school. So I just wonder, do we know then whether there was the possibility for these civilians, who presumably were seeking shelter, to receive any kind of warning about this?
In many cases, the Israeli forces would issue a warning to the people before targeting a building or a school or a hospital. They ask people to evacuate. They ask people to move from fighting area. But apparently, in this time, Israel wanted really to target Hamas members who were apparently praying at that time. We understand that Hamas members are religious people. They are an ideology. They are fighting for a cause, fighting for a sake of, as they say, sake of God, sake of their nation, sake of having an independent state. So they would be praying at that time in the morning prayer, which is happening with their local times between 4 and 5 a.m. in the morning. So
I can't believe there's still motherfuckers in here being like, yo, this is like, don't attack American allies or you'll get blown up. It's like, bro, you're just a genocidal piece of shit. Like, I don't know what else to say to you, man. Don't attack American allies. Lol, that statement sums up how people never in the military think. Lol, this is the same thing as before. If you don't want to get destroyed, don't attack American allies. Like, I hear stuff like this. I live in the Imperial Core. I live in the United States of America. When I hear stuff like this like callous nature, this callous indifference that you have to human lives, like that you can just write off. I know you do. You know I do what? When I hear things of this nature from people who fancy themselves to be like progressive, it just makes me lose my mind, dude. Like it just goes back to the same fucking principle of like why 9/11 happened. You know what I mean? It's also like America is not as mighty as we like to think it is. In some respects, we are, right? But we are nowhere near as powerful as we think we are, okay? We are also very vulnerable due to the lifestyle comforts that we've gotten used to. Like the comforts that we've gotten used to is going to cook us in the long run. It makes us extra vulnerable to outside pressure. Disruption of the supply chain causes real panic. Now imagine what happens when you got American service members coming back home in fucking body bags, okay, because they wanted to defend Israel as Israel was like increasingly becoming unhinged. And also, oil refineries are being targeted and the price of oil has skyrocketed as a consequence of that. Like, it won't be as sweet as you think it is. That's not exactly true. I say all Zionist parties left of Gaza are pretty positive towards Biden. Their base are mostly liberal, bourgeois, Ashkenazi Jews who like that kind of aesthetic. Anything rightward, though, and their hog levels increase exponentially. The numbers I saw from March are 30% who prefer Biden, 44% who prefer Trump. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So when Israel just struck that prayer area, a few minutes after the beginning of the area, they would know that there are members of Hamas were praying at that area. So they didn't care much of giving a warning. They wanted that target, no matter how civilians would die in that attack.
Now, Mohammed, you and I have been looking at images throughout the course of the morning, families crowding around people that they have lost, people who are injured there at the hospital. But I just wonder, at this stage in the conflict, realistically, what kind of hope is there for the health system, for these hospitals, to actually be able to really save the lives of people who have been injured, to treat people, when we know that the health system, of course, has really been facing the consequences of this ongoing conflict?
Unfortunately, the health system in Gaza cannot deal with such incidents. There is only one hospital working in Gaza, which is Al Ahli Hospital, is partially working. The hospital that we saw a picture of is Shuhada Al-Aqsa is not working properly. Al-Shifa compound is out of service. Al-Ma'madani hospital is out of service. There are many hospitals that are out of service. I heard reports that are saying many doctors were arrested by the Israeli forces. Many doctors were killed. This system relying so much on the foreign aid, or also the doctors that are volunteering to come from foreign countries or other countries to come and help in their leave time or and
that's crazy, man. Look at
but
this.
Unfortunately, the hospitals, they do not have enough equipment, enough medications.
Hamas out of the Gaza city, and yet they keep continuing bombing Gaza cities and also all those areas which they have said that they have destroyed Hamas. And how long they are going to really continue to do that? They can always claim that there is Hamas members somewhere, and as a result they can kill also hundreds of innocent people. And this is what is really happening. And I think in the view of many analysts, this constitutes what can be called state terrorism. I mean, this is what Israel has been trying to do, and it's become extremely provocative. And basically,
over 100 civilians that Israel cold-bloodedly killed. They singled out 19 and falsely claimed they were Hamas members. By the way, they said dozens.